has come, my friends, to discuss what it means to be lawful good. Now, I did talk about it a little bit on the fourth wall in my Handling Paladins episode, but we're here to take a closer look at the alignment this time. Many gamers don't even think it's worth it to be discussing this alignment. That is clear-cut. That is the realm of the White Hats, or the Knights of Justice. Yet, as we saw with its polar opposite, it can easily be misconstrued. The usual interpretation is that characters who are lawful good are Boy Scouts. They are devout to the law of the land or to the dictates of their dogma. Further, they are stiff-backed, killjoy mother figures who will not suffer those who won't finish their vegetables before their dessert. If you haven't guessed the pattern yet, this is a limited scope of the alignment. Remember, we're dealing with principled characters who are selfless. A lawful character does not inherently believe in the law. They believe in their principles. They have a code of honor or a discipline to their lives, and they hold themselves accountable to their actions. What often helps dictate these principles is the fact that these characters are selfless. They think of the rights and the feelings of others rather than their own. This is what drives them to protect others who can't protect themselves, or to never harm without reason. A lawful good character can be a rebel or a blasphemer. Granted, you will most likely see this in the face of corruption, but principles do not always align with the law. Now, not to call Jaime Lannister lawful good, but take the fact that he betrayed his oath as a Kingsguard and slew his king. Now, let's replace him with a different character in that time. Let's say Ned Stark.
I realize I'm cheating with the examples here.
And this could have been the act of a principled, selfless character. A lawful good character would stop their sadistic king from harming others, even if it meant betraying his or her oath. They are betraying the law, but they are keeping true to their principles. Now that I've given a quasi-example of a lawful good character, why don't we go ahead and get to the real deal. Our first example had a simple upbringing, which has led him in his adult life to strive to be a man that his adoptive family can be proud of. Living for truth, justice, and more often than not, the American way, our first example is Goku. No, I'm kidding, it's Superman.
Though Goku's not bad either.
The last of his kind, the Man of Steel is a god amongst men. And that's not just to say that he's powerful, no. Clark Kent is a man who sees the imperfect world around him. The violence, the lying, the cheating, the degradation, everything that makes humanity the flawed and self-destructive race it can be. And he fights for us anyway. Superman believes we are capable of being better than we are. Even beyond his belief in love, kindness, and honor, he believes in the human spirit. That's something that many of us who have seen the worst of us can't claim to still believe in. Yet, despite being able to hear pretty much every crime and atrocity committed on Earth, he puts his life on the line to protect us because he believes in us. And that is why Superman is principled. He loves humanity like a father loves a troubled son. Now, the reason that he is good comes from that life on the line part. The last son of Krypton is the most powerful being on Earth, and he knows it, yet he chooses to serve. More importantly, he remains here to do so. Superman could easily leave to find those more like himself, but he actually cares about the people here, so he remains here for our sake. Superman is rightly identified as the example of a lawful good character, but there's no doubt that he is more than human, both physically and ethically. For our unexpected example, I chose someone who's a bit more relatable, at least on an emotional level. Our second example is someone who has every right to be angry at the world, and has a penchant for taking the law into his own hands. Because of this, he tends to be placed in either chaotic or at least neutral good. However, a great example of a lawful good character is without a doubt Batman. Yes, Batman! What? Did you think I'd pull that red herring trick twice? Now, many people have written Batman, and some have written him more, we'll say, cruel than others. So to placate the fans of those writers, I will clarify and say that I'm talking about the Batman of the DC animated universe. You can retroactively assume the same of Superman. How can someone so vindictive who regularly engages in vigilantism be considered lawful? Because he's principled. Seriously, have you guys even been paying attention? It is true that the Dark Knight is willing to put Gotham's psychopaths into body casts. However, there are two things that will always separate him from those he hunts: his value for human life and his refusal to use guns. Batman does not kill. Further, he will put his life on the line to save even a criminal if their life is in danger. Bruce Wayne knows what death does to people, specifically to loved ones and to oneself. He will save a mugger's life because he recognizes that that man probably has a family, and he will never kill the Joker because to do so is to become like the Joker. Likewise, Wayne refuses to use a gun because it represents everything that he's trying to change about the world. A gun was used to kill his parents, and because of that, he works every night to make sure that the same doesn't happen to any other child who's trying to come home from the movies. The second principle is actually directly tied to what makes Batman selfless. Bruce Wayne has taken on the mantle of Batman, not because he wants revenge or because it makes him feel free. He has become Batman because it is the best tool he can think to use to protect innocents from the thugs and psychos of Gotham. Whether there are better uses for his resources is irrelevant. He believes what he is doing is right, and he does it for the sake of others. Batman is principled selfless, or lawful good. So what can we learn about the alignment from these two men? Well, primarily that being lawful has nothing to do with following or upholding the law. Both are without a doubt selfless good men, yet they both have very different MOs. While Superman does his best to work within the laws of man in order to keep himself humble, Batman works outside of them in order to accomplish what they can't. Also, while Superman meets the chisel-jawed stereotype often associated with this alignment, Batman is dark, exacting, and has a realistic worldview. Batman also isn't the type to scold you about committing a crime. He will simply act to prevent you from harming others. As I said earlier, I talked about this some in my Handling Paladins episode. If you'd like to hear more about what it takes to make a good, principled, selfless character, or just to hear more examples of them, go ahead and check it out here. For now, it's time that we move on and see what happens when a principled character acts primarily in self-interest. So next time, we'll be taking a look at what it means to be lawful evil.